give it up for Dr. Waxman. He's going to have me handle most of this because he's actually on call tonight, and he's been handling some phone calls from with the ER, and he's got some issues going on. So if he walks out, I don't think it's because he's disgusted with my talk. Okay, so I told him I would get this, and I'll pull him up later for the Q&A. So, welcome to Living Well and Bell. It is about getting healthier and happier. So, Jeff and I are the co-founders of Living Well Aware, and today's presentation is going to be on emotional intelligence, well-being. Last month, we had Dr. Clark talk about brain health and the things that you and I can do to keep our brain healthy, and today we're going to talk about how the brain functions. Now, next month, Dr. Paul Hicks, and you've got your flyer on that, don't miss that. I had dinner with Paul a couple of months ago, and what he's doing with emotional health, resistant depression, and he's also going to be talking about resilience, how we can all develop resilience with our emotional health. So you're not going to want to miss next week. And hopefully he won't contradict everything I say today. No. Okay, so our emotional health, it is the ruler of our life, isn't it? If we have our emotional health in order, it's easier for us to, be, physically in a good state. It's easier for us to have great relationships, make better financial decisions. It's just better. And emotional health is one of the 5 components of the World Health Organization definition of wellness. And why do you and I want to be as well as we can? So that we can meet our role expectations. So when we're spending time doing like what you're doing tonight, spending time coming here, learning about wellness, that's awesome because so many people are depending upon you, right? It's not just about you. All the time that we spend working on ourselves, so many more people are going to benefit. But what do we usually say? We don't have time for ourselves. No. So we're going to talk about tonight, if we really want to be productive and creative, we want to keep doing what you guys are doing tonight, and that's investing your time in yourself, okay? That's for sure. Now, those of you that are familiar with Living Well Aware know that there are 11 essential elements to health and happiness, which Jeff and I live by. And we started making a list years ago when he drugged me to a wellness conference. April 2008, 14 years ago, kicking and screaming. I went with an attitude. As we'll talk about, I went with my ego brain, with an attitude. But I must admit, I learned a lot, and it took us both down a path that has been nothing short of miraculous. Nothing short of miraculous, and we love sharing that with audiences. And we kept making a list of what are the things that we could do that there's no doubt about it, we would be healthier and happier. And you should have gotten the poster out there with the 11 essential elements to health and happiness. So take your kids' and grandkids' art off the refrigerator and hang this up there. Okay? All right? So that you'll have it out there. And that's what the book, Should I Fire My Doctor, and the workbook are based on. These 11 essential elements to health and happiness. Now, number 9 of 11 is stifle stress, sever suffering. Because I knew that had to be one of the essential elements to health and happiness, because I was not emotionally at my best, 14 years ago when we pursued this. I was stressed out all the time, and I realized I really needed to work on my emotional health. And if I got better emotionally, then everything else was going to be better. So I knew it had to be one of the 11. All right? It was one of the first one we put up there. Now, what am I talking about when I'm talking about stress? I'm actually talking about managing negative emotions. Managing negative emotions. That's what essential element number 9 is all about. So the question is, where's your home? Where do you live? And I'm not talking about, do you live in Temple or Belton, or we've got some people here from Houston and Tomball because they were attending the school nurse conference this afternoon and found out this was going on, so they came over. So thank y'all. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, several of y'all. Thank you very much, and thanks for what you school nurses do. Awesome, especially today with everything you have to deal with. What I'm talking about is, where do we live emotionally? Where do we live emotionally, and what influences your emotions? All right? because actually there are only two basic emotions. All other emotions are derivative of these two basic emotions. And what are the two basic emotions? All right?
Fear, love, and love.
You heard the lecture from Houston, right?
Told us that.
There you go, there you go. They got to hear my emotional health talk. Exactly. The two basic emotions are love or fear. If we're angry, that's just a form of fear. If we're stressed out, that's a form of fear. Right? We're worried about something. We're fearing something. If we're complaining, that's actually a form of fear. So any negative emotion, anger, irritability, depression, stress, disgust, complaining, you name it. Name any negative thought, emotion, it's actually a form of fear. All other fears are a form of love. If you're happy, that's a form of love. If you're joyous, and if you're in a state of gratitude, if you're having compassion for someone, empathy, understanding, that's a form of love. So any emotion you can put in one of those categories, all right? Now, what determines if you're in a state of love versus a state of fear? You know, only just one thing, our thinking. Our thinking. An event may happen, and one person is going, oh no, I can't believe this is happening, da-da-da, and another person is like, bring it on. I'm loving this. You know? Yeah, one person can say, oh, I had a horrible business meeting. Why was it horrible? I went in there, and everybody thought they had the answer to the problem in the organization. Everybody had their opinion. And another person might say, I had a great meeting today. Oh, why was it great? Everybody had an opinion. Oh, I didn't agree with all of them, but they were so interactive and they're engaged. They just didn't sit there. Are you catching what I'm throwing? How do we look at a situation? How we look at situations rules our life. Are we looking at all the negatives like, oh, I didn't like that idea, or oh, that was an idea. Maybe there's 10% good about that, okay? You know, I can find something, but at least they had an idea. So it's our thinking. So it's actually about what part of our brain we're using. Guess what? Depending upon what part of our brain we're using, kind of determines how we feel. This is crazy, and I'm loving the fact that it took me a while, and I didn't learn this in medical school. But to be quite honest, since Jeff and I graduated from medical school 42 years ago, we'll be married 42 years this year. Yay! That was the toughest degree to hold on to. Okay, all right. So we didn't learn this because we didn't have the knowledge. Now we have ways to map brains and where we're thinking with functional MRIs, and it's incredible. So we really have two brains which function differently and lead us to think differently. And one of them I like to call the inner spirit brain, the right brain. Some people call it the sage, or the Holy Spirit brain, or whatever it's called, different names, but I'm thinking they're all talking about the same thing. And then there's our left brain, the ego brain, the survival brain. Always looking for something wrong. All right, what do I need to do? So at any one moment, you and I are living in one thought process or another, and we're actually using different parts of our brain. It's absolutely amazing. So our thinking, i.e. which brain we're using, rules our life. But what determines how you and I think? What causes me to look at a certain situation one way, and maybe someone else is right there experiencing the same thing and looks at it differently? Why is that? And I always say there's two things. Our thinking has been programmed up here into our computer, our GPS system. Except I like to call it our global performance system, all right, or our guided performance system. And it's been programmed up here. And it's been programmed through two things, life events and genetics. Life events and genetics. Life events, everything that you and I have experienced from the moment we were born has influenced how you and I think about things, the type of family we were brought up in. You know, our friends in school, you know, all the education we received, our neighbors, anybody we ran into. And sometimes it's programmed us in ways and we don't even understand. Sometimes a major event happens and we know that event really propelled me in this direction. And we know what that is. I know I've had several of those events in my life. Like I shared with the nurses that I was born and raised on a farm and a ranch to parents who didn't make it past the 6th grade. And I had some key people in my life. You got to go to college, really? And then you got to go to medical school. What? No? You got to be kidding me. But those were key people, key events. So you and I think certain ways because of all of the events that have happened. And some events have programmed us to think certain ways, feel certain ways, and we don't have a clue why. Somehow some event did something and our subconscious mind processed it in a certain way because we don't understand that. And Dr. Jeff Clark did a great job of explaining we really don't understand how the brain fully collates memories and causes us to do the actions that we do. We just know that it does. The other thing is genetics. Our genetics do play a role in our emotional health, just like our genetics plays a role in our physical health. You know, you can inherit your tendency towards high blood pressure, correct? Or high cholesterol. Or you can have a genetic tendency towards a certain cancer. So guess what? Genetically, we also, to a certain extent, inherit our personality and our emotional state. You know, you inherit your personality. Right? Believe me, my family knew this. I am the middle of 7 children. Born and raised on a farm and a ranch to the same parents. We were all raised in the same house. We are all different. We are all different. I always say I'm the crazy one. And born with an obsessive compulsive personality, would freak out and have temper tantrums if things just weren't perfect. I mean, I was driving my parents crazy. They're thinking, what is wrong with this child? All right? But I was obsessive compulsive, would freak out if I brought an A- home, and they're like, what is wrong with her? An A- is fine. But that's just the way I was, born with these tendencies. All right? So our genetics and our life events cause us to be where you and I are right here and now. All of our life events and our genetics have caused us to be where we are right now physically, in the physical state you're in the emotional state you're in the social state you're in with your relationships, in your financial state, and yes, in your spiritual state. A lot of that's been programmed. So if you don't like where you are, physically, emotionally, socially, financially, spiritually, or all of the above, it's not your fault. It is your problem. All right? But that's it. The good news is there's something we can do about that. All right? There's something we can do about it. So, life event, past life events, genetics. Which one of these can be altered? Yeah, both of them can. You might say, wait, Patsy, how can we alter past life events? We can alter how we think about those past life events. We can alter how we think about them. Some of the things that I just had negative thoughts about, why did my fiance break up with me at college, and I had negative effects about it, and I had to think back and actually start to have empathy for the guy because things haven't gone well for him, and realize had he not broken up with me, I wouldn't have met that great guy. And had a lot of these negative things not happened, and had I not learned from them, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So we can always go back to that event and look, what is the good in it? I got upset that, a lot of things about my parents, and they didn't want me to go to college and this and that, and I realized, wait a minute, because they didn't fund my college, I had to do it on my own. It made me stronger. I had to get out there and fend for myself And it made me, it made me take ownership of my life. And as I told the school nurses, it made me realize my parents had a right to their opinion. Their life circumstances and genetics caused them to say the things and do the things that they did. People have a right to their opinion. I may disagree with it, all right? It doesn't mean I agree with everything that's said or whatever. But I do have to have empathy and compassion and look at what is the good in this. So if we're gonna blame people and our parents and for all the bad stuff, we gotta blame them for the good stuff too. We gotta blame them for the good stuff. So we can look differently at past life events. And we have to dump negative past life events. You know what I love about the past? It's over. If we let it. If we let it. I'm constantly with friends that are continuing to tell me negative stuff about when they were really little. And they just happen to be my age, 69, okay? And I'm like, I just can't think of anything negative about my parents or anything. Now, I used to could, but I went, that's not solving, that's replaying a bad movie. How many of y'all like to replay bad movies? No, we replay good movies. It's a Wonderful Life. Christmas Story. Yeah, we replay good movies. At least I do, okay? All right. Over and over. Sandlot. Great movie. Replay good. But what happens is we replay a bad movie in our head. That event, it's gone years ago. Decades ago, we are replaying a bad movie. Okay, that needs to be deleted from the system. All right? And you might say, okay, Patsy, I get it. I can start looking differently at past events. Looking at past events with negativity, that just serves no useful purpose. In fact, that's just ridiculous. Why would I want to replay this movie? It's crazy. And you might say, I get that, but you can't alter your genetics. Wrong. Epigenetics, one of the hottest things going, we can alter the function of our genes. You can have a tendency towards a lot of illnesses and not develop that illness, right? Because epigenetics, we can alter the function of genes with our lifestyle. And now what we're starting to do in medicine is alter the function of genes with medications, which is going to be incredible for treating cancers and a lot of other things. What's going to happen in the next 5 years is going to be nothing short of sci-fi. That's why you and I want to remain as healthy as we can so we can take advantage of any of those therapies. It's going to be incredible, and we'll be talking about those in the lecture series, all right, as time goes on. So we can alter the function of our genes, and we know that you can have a gene for something that's negative, and we can keep it from manifesting. Do all women with the breast cancer gene develop breast cancer? Oh no, oh no. Why do some do, why do some don't? And why do people with high blood pressure gene, do they all develop high blood pressure? No, we can alter the function of our genes, epigenetics. And as far as our nervous system goes, neurogenesis, the formation of new brain cells, awesome. Yes, it occurs. Right? And neuroplasticity, the rewiring of the connections between our nerve cells. So this is what's very exciting. If you don't like where you are, there's some good news out there. We can alter this, okay? So we've been programmed to use or not use certain areas of our brain in different situations. So the question is, how intelligent are we? How intelligent are we? And the more I learn about this, I'm going, Patsy, seriously, you need to up your intelligence here. And both types of intelligence, all right? So one, we know intelligence is our IQ, which is a measure of a person's reasoning ability, how well we use information, logic, make predictions, IQ. I just, have one of those average IQs. I happen to be married to someone who's like up here, okay? His number is much higher than mine. But there's also a form of intelligence that's, I think, sometimes much more important, and that's our emotional quotient, or our emotional intelligence, our EQ. And that's the ability for you and I to understand, use, and manage emotions in positive ways, to relieve stress, communicate with others, be more empathetic, understanding. That is emotional intelligence. We're using our emotions for us and others, not against us and others. That is our emotional intelligence. And when we do this, we increase our potential. And that's what Living Well Aware is all about. You and I achieving our potential. None of us are anywhere near the amazing version that God created us to be. Not anywhere near. Right? So with our emotional intelligence and everything else in our life, if we can use these for us, not against us, we get closer to that. So what determines our potential? Yes, knowledge and education can help determine potential, right? If you get the right knowledge and education. If you have the right, maybe the right life experiences, you have the right upbringing, that may give you an edge. And you've got skills, either genetic or you go acquire them, you're going to be able to up your potential. And obviously your IQ can also be a factor in determining your potential. But a couple of areas that are really important, one is our social network. Our social network can be a big factor in whether you and I reach our potential. Our social network. Those people we hang with. And that's why we're putting a lot of this stuff into our adolescent curriculum. There's not only Living Well Aware for adults, but there's Living Well Aware, My Choice is My Life, which is for adolescents. And we finished the 6th grade curriculum, and a lot of the area schools implemented it. It's on video and everything. Check out livingwellaware.com and click on the adolescent tab. We actually have a video for the parents for every lesson. And it's online. Any parent can go to get it. So, you know, emphasizing to them the importance of our relationships. The importance of our relationships. And I realized in pursuing wellness, I wanted to up my social network. And I started a book club, which has been incredible. It's been going on for years. And we read great books. It's like-minded, diverse people, but like-minded. We're trying to get better. We're just trying to get better, and we share our struggles, we share our challenges, we share our successes, and we support each other. Yeah, and one of the other things that I did, one of the best things I did was, it'll be 13 years ago next month, I joined Altrusa International of Temple. So I could hang with a bunch of incredible women that really made me a better person. Yeah, the more I give, the more we get involved in helping our community. And that's how, I met Sherry Wojtek and got more involved with her, and got even more involved in the clinic. So I love Altrusa. So our social network is very, very important. Very, very important. And also important in reaching our potential is our emotional intelligence. I mean, do you know a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, they're super, super smart, but emotionally, they're not quite there? Are you working with some of those people? Or living with them? Yeah, sometimes we can be really smart emotionally. I think knowledge-wise and everything, I was doing really good in life, winning a lot of awards and everything, but I really needed to work on my emotional intelligence, right? A lot more. And I started to realize the importance of it. Now, both our IQ and our EQ are really, really, really important. They're very important. And if but what we want to do is combine them for high positive intelligence. So that's my thinking. And this is when we have, high positive intelligence when our thinking is our friend. We're making good decisions. We're making good decisions about all aspects of our life. Our physical life, our emotional health, our relationships, our financial decisions, spiritually, we're making better decisions. So our thinking is our friend. And all of these actions lead to the best interest for us and for others. And a lot of you, those who follow me, know what PESFS stands for. Physical, emotional, social, financial, and spiritual. The 5 aspects of wellness. And this is when we do this, we're getting closer to our true potential. Things are happening, for us, not against us. And actually, we look for the opportunities and the gifts and challenges. Something difficult is happening, we didn't get what we want. Okay, what's the gift in this? Because if we just focus on the negative, that's what we're going to get. If we go, okay, we're dealing with reality, this happened, what's the gift in this? That's when we have a high EQ, emotional intelligence. Even with difficult situations, we're looking, what is the gift in this? Maybe it's going to be, we need to learn how to do it differently. We need to work harder, we need to look at it a different way, whatever. So the question for all of us is, how mentally fit are we? How mentally fit are we? And I like this definition of mental fitness: your ability to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than a negative mindset. That's what determines our mental fitness, how we look at things, how we look at things. So our problem is that our thinking, our mind, our brain can be our worst enemy. It's just sabotaging our health and happiness. And the answer literally is, if that's happening, and it happens to all of us in certain areas of our life, because there's no one in here that's anywhere near their potential. And I know a lot of you, and some of you physically are like amazing. You know, some of you spiritually, like, is there a halo there? I think there is, okay? You know, but there's other aspects of your life where you're being sabotaged. Right? So all of us may have one or two areas where we're sabotaging ourselves. And we want to, if we want to be that amazing person that we were created to be, and really live our potential, then we can't leave any of these out. Because what happens is, it can be a form of disaster. You know, there's too many people that just look like a billion bucks. I used to say million, but inflation. Okay? They look like $1 million, but their relationships are in total disarray. Or emotionally, they're not at their best. You know? So we literally, all of us need to work on all five, but you know, if you're like me, there's some of them I need to work on harder than the others. All right? And that's just an individual thing. Now, what's really cool is that our inner spirit sage brain and our ego survival brain are actually located in different parts of this brain up here. It's absolutely incredible. And sometimes the best way to show something is by seeing it. And I want to show you a TED Talk that came out, gosh, over 10 years ago, but it's one of the most viewed TED Talks out there. Millions of people have viewed it. And this is by Dr. Jill Taylor. She's a neuroanatomist out of Harvard, Mass General, and she was studying the brain, and then something happened to her. So enjoy this video.
I grew up to study the brain because I have a brother who has been diagnosed with a brain disorder, schizophrenia. And as a sister, and later as a scientist, I wanted to understand, why is it that I can take my dreams, I can connect them to my reality, and I can make my dreams come true? What is it about my brother's brain and his schizophrenia that he cannot connect his dreams to a common and shared reality, so they instead become delusion? So I dedicated my career to research into the severe mental illnesses, and I moved from my home state of Indiana to Boston, where I was working in the lab of Dr. Francine Bennis in the Harvard Department of Psychiatry. And in the lab, we were asking the question, what are the biological differences between the brains of individuals who would be diagnosed as normal control, as compared with the brains of individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, or bipolar disorder? So we were essentially mapping the microcircuitry of the brain, which cells are communicating with which cells, with which chemicals, and then in what quantities of those chemicals. So there was a lot of meaning in my life because I was performing this type of research during the day, but then in the evenings and on the weekends, I traveled as an advocate for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. But on the morning of December 10, 1996, I woke up to discover that I had a brain disorder of my own. A blood vessel exploded in the left half of my brain. And in the course of 4 hours, I watched my brain completely deteriorate in its ability to process all information. On the morning of the hemorrhage, I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. I essentially became an infant in a woman's body. If you've ever seen a human brain, it's obvious that the two hemispheres are completely separate from one another. And I have brought for you a real human brain. So this is a real human brain. This is the front of the brain, the back of the brain with the spinal cord hanging down. And this is how it would be positioned inside of my head. And when you look at the brain, it's obvious that the two cerebral cortices are completely separate from one another. For those of you who understand computers, our right hemisphere functions like a parallel processor, while our left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. The two hemispheres do communicate with one another through the corpus callosum, which is made up of some 300 million axonal fibers. But other than that, the two hemispheres are completely separate. Because they process information differently, each of our hemispheres think about different things, they care about different things, and dare I say, they have very different personalities. Excuse me. Thank you. It's been a joy. Our right human hemisphere is all about this present moment. It's all about right here, right now. Our right hemisphere, it thinks in pictures, and it learns kinesthetically through the movement of our bodies. Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems, and then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what this present moment smells like and tastes like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. I am an energy being connected to the energy all around me through the consciousness of my right hemisphere. We are energy beings connected to one another through the consciousness of our right hemispheres as one human family. And right here, right now, we are brothers and sisters on this planet, here to make the world a better place. And in this moment, we are perfect, we are whole, and we are beautiful. My left hemisphere, our left hemisphere, is a very different place. Our left hemisphere thinks linearly and methodically. Our left hemisphere is all about the past, and it's all about the future. Our left hemisphere is designed to take that enormous collage of the present moment and start picking out details, and more details about those details. It then categorizes and organizes all that information, associates it with everything in the past we've ever learned, and projects into the future all of our possibilities. And our left hemisphere thinks in language. It's that ongoing brain chatter that connects me and my internal world to my external world. It's that little voice that says to me, hey, you gotta remember to pick up bananas on your way home. I need them in the morning. It's that calculating intelligence that reminds me when I have to do my laundry. But perhaps most important, it's that little voice that says to me, I am. And as soon as my left hemisphere says to me, I am, I become separate. I become a single, solid individual, separate from the energy flow around me and separate from you. And this is the portion of my brain that I lost on the morning of my stroke. On the morning of the stroke, I woke up to a pounding pain behind my left eye. And it was the kind of pain, caustic pain, that you get when you bite into ice cream. And it just gripped me, and then it released me. And then it just gripped me, and then it released me. And it was very unusual for me to ever experience any kind of pain, so I thought, okay, I'll just start my normal routine. So I got up and I jumped onto my cardia glider, which is a full body, full exercise machine. And I'm jamming away on this thing, and I'm realizing that my hands look like primitive claws grasping onto the bar. And I thought, that's very peculiar. And I looked down at my body, and I thought, whoa, I'm a weird looking thing. And it was as though my consciousness had shifted away from my normal perception of reality, where I'm the person on the machine having the experience, to some esoteric space where I'm witnessing myself having this experience. And it was all very peculiar, and my headache was just getting worse, so I get off the machine, And I'm walking across my living room floor, and I realize that everything inside of my body has slowed way down. And every step is very rigid and very deliberate. There's no fluidity to my pace, and there's this constriction in my area of perception, so I'm just focused on internal systems. And I'm standing in my bathroom getting ready to step into the shower, and I could actually hear the dialogue inside of my body. I heard a little voice saying, okay, you muscles, you gotta contract, and you muscles, you relax. And then I lost my balance, and I'm propped up against the wall. And I looked down at my arm, and I realized that I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end, because the atoms and the molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall. And all I could detect was this energy. And I'm asking myself, what is wrong with me? What is going on? And in that moment, my brain chatter, my left hemisphere brain chatter, went totally silent. Just like someone took a remote control and pushed the mute button. Total silence. And at first I was shocked to find myself inside of a silent mind. But then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of the energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. And then all of a sudden, my left hemisphere comes back online, and it says to me, hey, we got a problem, we got to get some help. And I'm going, oh, I got a problem. So it's like, okay, I got a problem. But then I immediately drifted right back out into the consciousness. And I affectionately refer to this space as La La Land. But it was beautiful there. Imagine what it would be like to be totally disconnected from your brain chatter that connects you to the external world. So here I am in this space, and my job and any stress related to my job, it was gone. And I felt lighter in my body. And imagine all of the relationships in the external world and any stressors related to any of those, they were gone. And I felt this sense of peacefulness. And imagine what it would feel like to lose 37 years of emotional baggage. Oh, I felt euphoria. It was beautiful there. And then again, my left hemisphere comes online and it says, hey, you've got to pay attention. We've got to get help. And I'm thinking, I got to get help. I got to focus. So I get out of the shower and I'm mechanically dressed and I'm walking around my apartment and I'm thinking, I got to get to work. Can I drive? And in that moment, my right arm went totally paralyzed by my side. Then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke. And then the next thing my brain says to me is, wow, this is so cool. How many brain scientists have the opportunity to study their own brain from the inside out? And then it crosses my mind, but I'm a very busy woman. I don't have time for a stroke. It's like, okay, I can't stop the stroke from happening, so I'll do this for a week or two, and then I'll get back to my routine. Okay, so I gotta call help, I gotta call work. I couldn't remember the number at work. So I remembered in my office I had a business card with my number on it. So I go into my business room, I pull out a 3-inch stack of business cards, and I'm looking at the card on top, and even though I could see clearly in my mind's eye what my business card looked like, I couldn't tell if this was my card or not, because all I could see were pixels. And the pixels of the words blended with the pixels of the background and the pixels of the symbols, and I just couldn't tell. And then I would wait for what I call a wave of clarity. And in that moment, I would be able to reattach to normal reality. And I could tell, that's not the card, that's not the card, that's not the card. It took me 45 minutes to get 1 inch down inside of that stack of cards. In the meantime, for 45 minutes, the hemorrhage is getting bigger in my left hemisphere. I do not understand numbers. I do not understand a telephone, but it's the only plan I have. So I take the phone pad and I put it right here. I take the business card, I put it right here, and I'm matching the shape of the squiggles on the card to the shape of the squiggles on the phone pad. But then I would drift back out into La La Land and not remember when I come back if I'd already dialed those numbers. So I had to wield my paralyzed arm like a stump and cover the numbers as I went along and pushed them so that as I would come back to normal reality, I'd be able to tell, yes, I've already dialed that number. Eventually, the whole number gets dialed, and I'm listening to the phone, and my colleague picks up the phone and he says to me, and I think to myself, oh my gosh, he sounds like a golden retriever. And so I say to him, clear in my mind, I say to him, this is Jill, I need help. And what comes out of my voice is, and I think, oh my gosh, I sound like a golden retriever. So I didn't know that I couldn't speak or understand language until I tried. So he recognizes that I need help, and he gets me help. And a little while later, I'm riding in an ambulance from one hospital across Boston to Mass General Hospital, and I curl up into a little fetal ball. And just like a balloon, with the last bit of air just right out of the balloon, I just felt my energy lift, and I felt my spirit surrender. And in that moment, I knew that I was no longer the choreographer of my life, and either the doctors rescue my body and give me a second chance at life, or this was perhaps my moment of transition. When I woke later that afternoon, I was shocked to discover that I was still alive. When I felt my spirit surrender, I said goodbye to my life, and my mind was now suspended between two very opposite planes of reality. Stimulation coming in through my sensory systems felt like pure pain. Light burned my brain like wildfire, and sounds were so loud and chaotic that I could not pick a voice out from the background noise, and I just wanted to escape. Because I could not identify the position of my body in space, I felt enormous and expansive, like a genie just liberated from her bottle. And my spirit soared free like a great whale gliding through a sea of silent euphoria. Nirvana. I found nirvana. And I remember thinking there's no way I would ever be able to squeeze the enormousness of myself back inside this tiny little body. But then I realized, but I'm still alive. I'm still alive, and I have found nirvana. And if I have found nirvana and I'm still alive, then everyone who is alive can find nirvana. And I pictured a world filled with beautiful, peaceful, compassionate, loving people who knew that they could come to this space at any time, and that they could purposely choose to step to the right of their left hemispheres and find this peace. And then I realized what a tremendous gift this experience could be. What a stroke of insight this could be to how we live our lives. And it motivated me to recover. 2.5 weeks after the hemorrhage, the surgeons went in and they removed a blood clot the size of a golf ball that was pushing on my language centers. Here I am with my mama, who's a true angel in my life. It took me 8 years to completely recover. So, who are we? We are the life force power of the universe with manual dexterity and 2 cognitive minds. And we have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world. Right here, right now, I can step into the consciousness of my right hemisphere where I am the life force power of the universe. I am the life force power of the 50 trillion beautiful molecular geniuses that make up my form, at one with all that is. Or I can choose to step into the consciousness of my left hemisphere, where I become a single individual, a solid, separate from the flow, separate from you, I am Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor, intellectual, neuroanatomist. These are the we inside of me. Which would you choose? Which do you choose? And when? I believe that the more time we spend choosing to run the deep inner peace circuitry of our right hemispheres, the more peace we will project into the world, and the more peaceful our planet will be. And I thought that was an idea worth spreading. Thank you.
Pretty powerful, isn't it? I submit to you, let's don't wait until we have a stroke in the left side of our brain before we learn the beauty of the right side. The right side of our brain, which is in tune to the senses, that's present to the moment. Present to the moment. And that's what is referred to in a lot of books or whatever as you read, the inner spirit, the sage, or whatever. But it's actually a different part of our brain. And when I saw this video, I thought, nothing explained. I can't explain it any better than a neuroanatomist who studies it and got to experience it. So the right and left side of our brains are wired differently. They have, as she mentioned, different functions. She wasn't able to speak. She couldn't read. Everything was blurred. Motor skills, all of that is on the left side of the brain. She had a stroke on the left side, so she couldn't move the right side of her body, and she couldn't talk, or she tried to. So she knocked out the left side. They function very different functions. Now they do communicate with each other through the corpus callosum. Both are necessary. Okay. So as we talked about, the left brain has very important functions, but we want to run it. We don't want it running us. All right. The right brain needs to be the pilot. And this is where we have, when we're present to people, we have empathy, we have compassion. We're trying to be understanding. We're at peace. This is where love comes from. Fear comes from the other side. Okay? And once again, we're able to study a lot of this now through functional MRIs. It's actually been shown you can ask people questions in a functional MRI and find out what part of their brain lights up. Okay? So the problem, if you're like me, I can overutilize my ego, my survival brain, worried about the future, and oh, this is going to happen, or that, or what could happen, or am I prepared for this? I can be worried so much about that I'm missing out on the present moment. It's just not getting up every day and just enjoying life and going, I have everything I need. That's the inner spirit. So the answer is we need to weaken the ego and the survival brain. Yes, we need it, okay? I need to know whether I need to go fill up with gas and do things like that. Yes, I need it, but we just don't want it ruining our life, all right? So because our inner spirit isn't, as she says, it's la la land. The inner spirit is not just sitting there, da 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 da. No, it's helping us make important decisions with peace and clarity, all right? So how do we change our thinking? How do we rewire all these trillions of neurons that we have, billions of neurons that have trillions of connections to work for us, not against us, okay? Well, the great news is that we literally can change these synaptic connections, and anatomically, if we use certain areas of our brain, we're actually anatomically changing those neurons. The myelin sheets are increasing, all right? It's kind of like if you go down one pathway and you keep going down it all the time, that pathway is going to be more worn than the other. But if you don't go down that pathway anymore and you only go this pathway, it's going to anatomically change. The same thing happens with our neurons. An event happens, and all of a sudden, maybe it's used to heading down this pathway, road rage, and all of a sudden, boom, the pathway goes down here, and you're going, God, what a jerk. But all of a sudden, you can rewire and be in your sage and inner spirit and go, oh my goodness, I wonder why that person's in a hurry. I hope they don't get hurt. I hope they don't get hurt. We can actually rewire how we think about the same event depending upon what part of our brain we're using. And actually, those parts that we don't like, over time, if we don't use them, they actually atrophy. So there's parts of my brain I'd like to atrophy, okay? All right? So, and the good news for us is that the brain continues to build new pathways, new synapses, so we can respond differently, and it can continue to do this even into our 90s. So, yes, okay? I'm very happy to hear about that. So, what are the best ways to strengthen our inner spirit? I'm just going to slam dunk this really, really quick. But the main thing is for us to develop a wellness mindset. In fact, Jeff and I just put on a day-long conference for an organization in Dallas. They had us come and they had us speak at the Star. It's this Dallas Cowboy Complex or whatever in Dallas. And we were going to do this one-day conference, and we knew they wanted 13 webinars after that. I said, Jeff, we're just going to, the whole day, we're going to work on wellness mindset. Because we can have all the information in the world, but we didn't reprogram up here. So we spent the whole day on mindset. We can talk about healthy eating and exercise and all that stuff in the webinars. And actually, I thought, I hope this goes over. They loved it. Because the more we reprogram up here, the better we're going to be. All right? So that's what Living Well Aware is all about. And how are we going to do it? By doing essential element number 10, which is periodically pause, ponder, plan, and for a lot of us, pray. Or what Jeff and I call RPM, reflection, prayer, and meditation, and we do it every day. I have to stop, turn my left brain off, just be present to myself, present to, for me also present to a higher power, just present to my breathing, my emotions, and really start to rewire the right brain. Repetition leads to rewiring, okay? Literally, we have to turn the world off. And I'm really proud of my husband. He will not touch any electronics before 8 o'clock in the morning, and we get up before 5. I don't care. We don't do social media anyway, and we don't watch TV, so there's not a lot of electronics in the house anyway. But we're not checking our computers for phones for emails and stuff like that. No. First person we take care of is ourselves. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. Turn the electronics off. And read daily. Read something daily. After we gut our greens and work out, while we're drinking our coffee, we do a daily reading. Why? So we want to rewire the right part of our brain. In fact, I brought a bunch of the books that we've read. We've done The Daily Stoic. It's 1 page a day, and then we can talk about it. Leo Tolstoy, Daily Devotionals. God Calling, and what we're reading right now by Henry Nouwen, You Are the Blood. Once again, 1 page a day where you can read it, and all of this is about rewiring the right side of the brain. Rewiring it, myelinating those neurons, all right? And also, although this is a Catholic priest, to show we read everything, we're doing meditations on intention and being by Buddhist monk. By Buddhist yoga instructor, I should say. So whatever floats your boat, but there's so many good readings out there that we can stop, and then after we read, meditate on it. Meditate on that reading. Meditate just on ourselves, what we're called to do. Yeah, it's awesome. One of the best books written on this is Positive Intelligence. If you're only going to read one book this year, read this book. If you're only going to read 2 books, reread this book, because it actually helps explain what I just said about how our brain functions and how you and I can increase our emotional intelligence, which rules our life. Another book, Psycho-Cybernetics. What Jeff and I do is take these books, read them, and incorporate them into our program. The Obstacle is the Way is another one. We can get this list to you. Plus, this is being recorded, right, Sherry? Yes. You'll be able to see the slide. One of my favorite books, Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. I love one of his sayings in the book. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And that's what kept him alive when he was imprisoned at Auschwitz. He said, I can't control what they're doing to me. I can control how I react to what they're doing to me. and that a lot of that is the right side of our brain. And even though his pregnant wife was killed, his parents were killed, a lot of other family members and friends, he said, I've got to look at the gift in this. And he went on to write Man's Search for Meaning and other books, which has been converted to 30 languages, and it has helped millions of people. He was not going to let his ego brain, the past, destroy the present moment where he could help people. So, wellness immersion. So, I want to thank you guys for doing this tonight, immersing yourself in wellness. And next month, we're going to continue on this. And ladies, if you want to be immersed in wellness, join us at Cedar Break Retreat Center. It's over in Belton, wonderful place. I've attended conferences out there. We're going to be immersing for 2.5 days, and I've got some incredible people lined up to speak. And ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you'll join us on our 13-week webinar series. Who's done the webinar series in here? Anybody? We've got a few people, yes. What did you think about it?
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, and we've got some comments on that. So, change your thinking. Change your life. Okay? As Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. What he was saying is we need to use our brain better and maybe use one side of it more than the other. Okay? Use our brain better. Question our negative BS belief system. All right? And dump the BS, our blame and shame. All right? Or if you're not into Albert Einstein, how about this? No trial has come to you but what is human. God is faithful and will not let you be tried beyond your strength, but with the trial will provide a way out so that you can bear it. This is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Things are going to happen to me in my life that I wished wouldn't happen. They have in the past, and I know they're going to happen in the future. It's called life. I just don't want to be stuck in my left ego brain in the past. You know, I want to be in my right brain, living in the present moment, dealing with reality. All right? So the inner spirit has the answers. Question all these negative fear-based beliefs and have faith. All right? So when we discover the inner peace and joy, it's not like we're sitting there in la-la land doing nothing. We're actually more productive, more creative, more powerful when we're in the inner spirit, when we're in the sage. We're more powerful. We're getting more stuff done better. And we're looking at people differently. When two egos collide, we have war. When two inner spirits join, miracles happen. Miracles happen. Okay, that's living well aware. So I want to say thanks to the Culture Activity Center. Thank you, Mary Pearson, Executive Director back there, for letting us use this amazing, wonderful auditorium. What's happening here at the CAC is beautiful. I'm here every week, it seems like, for something. There's so much stuff going on here, and it's in our community right here. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And a big thanks to the Temple Community Clinic for everything they're doing for so many people and for making this all possible. And thanks to you for traveling this journey with us. We really appreciate that, because the goal of living well aware and living well in Bell, let's live healthy, live happy, let's live holistically. Why? So we can meet our role expectations, so we can lift humanity. Thank you very much. Yeah, all right. Jeff, any comments? All right, you didn't get a call.
Good job. I'm just curious, who here is attending their first Living Well in Bell? Show of hands. Wow. Sherry, look what you're doing.
Look what y'all are doing.
I love that Jill Bolte Taylor talk. She, again, raised a great question. Who are the we in me? And I'm going to say something that you may think is a little controversial, but what I'm going to say is a lot of what you think is wrong. You don't know what you're thinking. It's wrong. And what we're talking about here is starting to reflect on this fact, re-examine some of the things we think and feel, and reorient our mindsets so that we are more productive and are thinking along more truthful lines. I'll give you a case in point. Happened to me this morning. I'm getting up. I have my day planned out. I have surgeries in the morning, and I know exactly when they're going to end. And then in the afternoon, I have some patients I need to see. Everything is planned. And in fact, after that, I'm meeting with a medical device representative so he can talk to me about some equipment. So I've got plan A, plan B, plan C. I'm getting ready to leave the house and I get a call. And the call is, well, there's an emergency and this person needs a surgery and you're going to have to do it because you're the only one around. Now, have you ever had your schedule nicely planned out and then something happened that made you change your plans? Has that happened to anybody here? How did you feel about that at first? Well, maybe I'm the only one here who feels that way, but my initial reaction was, I am not happy about this. This is not the way things were supposed to go. And then I took a step back because our meditative practice has allowed us to recognize how we think and feel and then digest it and decide what to do about it. So I thought about it and I thought, well, you know, this is unplanned, but it is there. I can't make it go away, so I'm going to have to figure out a new plan. And my new plan was to cancel one of my surgeries to make room for the emergency. That was my plan. And if I did that, I thought the day could still move along okay. So I called the operating room and I said, you need to contact this mom and tell her that unfortunately her son's surgery is not an emergency and we do have one. We got to cancel her little boy's surgery today. So, got a plan. Now I have a new plan. Things are going to move along just the way I have altered them. Then they call me back. The nurse doesn't feel comfortable calling the mother. Come on! All right, the plan's been changed. I have a new plan, and now they're telling me the nurse doesn't want to call the mother. You can tell that I wasn't real thrilled about being told that. But again, I stopped and said, Jeff, look at how you're thinking and reacting. Look at how you're feeling. Put yourselves in the shoes of the nurse. She doesn't want to be the bearer of this news to a mom who's expecting her little one's going to have surgery. So what did I do on the phone? I said, okay. Because I totally reverted from feeling angry that things weren't happening the way I wanted. Those decisions are coming from the ego. I reverted to my sage and said, wow, she's perfectly reasonable about that. If I were in her shoes, I wouldn't feel comfortable either. Give me the mother's phone number, I'll call her myself. And I called her, and everything worked out fine. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is when the events in our lives happen, many times we start thinking, it shouldn't have happened this way. What we're telling ourselves is a lie. We made it up. It should have happened this way because that's the way it's happening. So if that's the way it's happening, recognize, Jeff, what part of your brain is talking to you, because the part that's over there where we say it's the ego that wants things to happen the way we want it, it's just chattering at us, lying to us, saying, this should be this way, and it's not. Oh my God. It's a lie. It's a lie. I lie to myself. I tell myself untruths. And if I do it, I'll bet in some way, shape, or form you do it. Now, you may have a better grip on this than I do, but even if it happens a little bit, can you imagine your interactions with other people? If you come from that, shouldn't have happened this way, why don't you call this mom? Or, why don't you pay attention to your son or daughter? or listen to your grandkid who's trying to tell you a story, or some friend who really wants to share, but you're busy looking at your cell phone, checking emails, and really not paying attention to that person. The quality of our life is influenced by the degree of time we spend in that sage area, seeing things as they are and appreciating the beauty of the universe and everyone in it and how interconnected we are. That's where the beauty lies. And it's not really our fault. As Dr. Sulak said, it is our problem. You know, when we were little, growing up, we didn't understand the world. Things were confusing to us, but our little brains tried to make sense of it. And our little brains asked a question of each one of us. How can we survive and thrive? Even if you have the best of home situations with perfect parents, no human being is perfect. But if we wanted our world to be stable and we wanted our world to be friendly and comfortable, we made up stories. We made up stories and told ourselves, and those stories led to a set of rules that started to dictate how we ran our lives. And so much of what we learned is that in our subconscious, many of the rules that we invoked to get by as little ones are still surreptitiously running the show because we have not recognized them. And they continue to tell us stories that a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old made up just to manage life. So I honor each one of you for being here because to me, it's a vote for taking the quality of your life to another level. And as Dr. Sulak has been saying, I submit to you that if you do want to take the quality of your life to another level, it has to start with your thinking and how you examine your own thoughts. And that may also involve taking time out of your electronically immersive day to spend with yourself and pay a visit to yourself through meditation, through reading, through taking a walk outside, getting some fresh air, observing nature, enjoying the gifts of your family and friends. So, again, thank you for being here. Each one of you is telling yourself some things that are not true. So let's all examine our thinking, take our lives to a higher level, and spend more time in that wonderful right brain that is connected to the rest of the universe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? We went over a little longer than I thought. I was wanting to be done. Question?
So why does it feel like the whole world is operating in their ego brain?
We're being marketed to death. We are being marketed to death. As Dr. Jeff Clark pointed out last month when he talked about brain health, there's a reason a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl goes for $6.5 million. They know they're going to get their money back. We spend so much time viewing TV, which is a lot of violence. The news is bad. I mean, we quit watching TV. People thought we were crazy. They go, well, wait, it's the pandemic. I know how to read. I'm keeping up with the pandemic, okay? But wait, the 2020 election, didn't you watch the election returns? No, I woke up the next morning and found out who won. Or at least I thought I knew who won. I'm not for sure, and a lot of people still even know who won, but anyway, that's a different story. But it's like I know how to read, and I can discover things, and we decided to turn electronics off. I flunked social media, had to hire somebody to handle my social media account for Living Well Aware, because there's so much going in here, and all the stuff that's going in is programming us. We don't think it's influencing us, but it is. And if we know this is influencing me, then we got it. then we're going, I know that this can be influencing me. And I want to, as much as I can, influence what goes in up here. And I can do it by doing good readings, reading good books, watching good, listening to good podcasts. There's so much good stuff out there, because it's got to counterbalance all the negative stuff. So that's what's going on. We're all about survival, survival. The sky is falling, and that's our ego brain. And it's, once again, it's being overutilized, and our inner sage is not. So that's why I hope a lot of you ladies will join us at Cedar Break. We're going to spend 3 days in the inner spirit. Okay? All right. And Jeff's going to be one of our guest speakers. We're going to sneak a guy in for a little while. His talk on how we can make changes is out of the wall great. It's awesome. It's awesome. So thank you. Yes, ma'am.
What is the author of that positive intelligence?
Shirzad Chamine, Chamine. Shirzad is Chirzod. Go to positiveintelligence.com and take the saboteur test. We all have saboteurs. Mine's the hyperachiever, go figure. And for some people, it's the avoider, my husband. For some people, it's the pleaser. They just want to please everybody, and it's driving them crazy. Any pleasers in here? Go to positiveintelligence.com, take the saboteur test, and email me your saboteurs. People do it all the time. I love it. And it's just, we've been programmed. I mean, it's okay to be an achiever. I mean, I've achieved a lot. It's when it was controlling my life, and I never thought I was good enough. That's not a good place. That's not a good place to live. And so, it's okay to be rational, but when you're hyper-rational, So anyway, I love the book, and I think it's one of the best books I've written the best books I've read on the topic. Yeah, so many good books out there, but that's a good one. Okay.